Location: Babiddi's spaceship crash site time. Minutes after Majin Buu's awakening, the landscape had been transformed into a candy wonderland. Where moments before there had been rocky hills and sparse vegetation, now there were gingerbread mountains and chocolate rivers. Trees made of crystallized sugar swayed in breezes that smelled of vanilla and cinnamon. And dancing through this surreal confectionery world was a pink creature that giggled with childlike delight at his own handiwork. Boo liked making pretty things, Majin Buu announced to no one in particular, clapping his hands as he transformed a flock of birds into marshmallow treats. Everything better when it candy. Gohan landed at the edge of this transformed zone, his guardian mode aura flickering silvergreen as his legendary power tried to process what it was sensing. The being before him radiated energy that felt older than civilizations, power that predated the concept of morality itself. But what disturbed him most wasn't Buu's strength, it was his innocence. "You're not evil," Gohan said, more to himself than to the pink creature. "You're just playing." Majin Buu's head swiveled toward him with owl-like curiosity. "Ooh, new friend, you look strong. You want to play with Buu?" Before Gohan could respond, a second figure crashed into the candy landscape with destructive force that scattered sugar crystals for miles. Majin Vegeta stood in the crater he'd created, his purple-tinged aura writhing with barely contained malevolence. "So," Vegeta sneered, studying the pink destroyer with calculating eyes, "you're the ancient evil that my power helped awaken. How disappointing." "Vegeta, don't," Gohan called out, but it was too late. The Saiyan prince launched himself at Majin Buu with killing intent, his enhanced strength focused into attacks designed to obliterate rather than subdue. His first punch should have pulverized the pink creature's head. Instead, it sank into Buu's flesh like hitting putty, completely absorbed without causing any apparent damage. "That tickle," Buu giggled, then casually swatted Majin Vegeta across the landscape like an annoying insect. Vegeta crashed through 3 candy mountains before finally coming to rest in what had once been a lake and was now a pool of liquid chocolate. He emerged covered in confectionery coating, his pride wounded more than his body. "Impossible," he snarled, wiping chocolate from his eyes. "I am Majin Vegeta. I possess the power of ancient magic. You cannot simply—" His complaints were cut off as Buu's head appendage stretched across the impossible distance and bonked him on the forehead. "Angry friend too loud," Buu said with mild annoyance. "Buu want quiet for thinking." The casual dismissal of Majin Vegeta's enhanced power drove home a truth that chilled Gohan to his core. They were dealing with something that operated by rules so alien that conventional combat might be meaningless. "Buu," Gohan said carefully, approaching with his hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "I'm Gohan. I want to be your friend too, but maybe we could play games that don't hurt people." The pink creature's expression brightened with genuine happiness. "New friend want play nice games? Buu like nice games, what we play?" For a moment, Gohan felt hope. If Majin Buu could be reasoned with, if his destructive impulses could be redirected toward harmless activities, then maybe this crisis could be resolved without play turning people into food, Buu exclaimed excitedly. "Buu show new friend." The beam that erupted from Buu's head appendage was aimed not at Gohan, but at a small town visible in the distance. Pink light enveloped the settlement, and within seconds, buildings became cookies, streets became frosting, and every living person was transformed into various types of candy. "See," Buu said proudly, "now we have snacks for after play." The horror of watching an entire population transformed into consumables for a creature's amusement broke something inside Gohan's carefully maintained control. Silver-green light exploded around him as Guardian Mode reached new heights, driven by protective instincts that demanded immediate action. "Change them back," he roared, his power spiking to levels that made reality itself tremble. But Majin Buu just tilted his head with confused innocence. "Why, they happy now, no worry, no pain, just taste good. They're not food." Gohan's aura became so intense that the candy landscape began to melt from the heat. "They're people, they have families, dreams, lives that matter. People taste better when happy," Buu replied with the logic of a child explaining why ice cream was better than vegetables. "Buu make everyone happy candy people." The philosophical disconnect was total. Majin Buu genuinely couldn't understand why Gohan was upset about something he viewed as a kindness. In his ancient, alien perspective, existence as candy was preferable to the struggles and suffering of mortal life. "I'm sorry," Gohan whispered, his Guardian Mode shifting into combat configuration for the first time in 7 years. "I'm sorry, but I can't let you do this." What followed was the first true test of perfected legendary power against an enemy that couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be reformed, and couldn't be allowed to continue existing in his current state. Gohan's opening attack contained enough force to shatter planets, delivered with precision that should have ended the battle instantly. The silver-green beam struck Majin Buu dead center, vaporizing his torso and leaving only pink smoke where his chest had been. For exactly 3 seconds, Gohan allowed himself to hope it was over. Then the smoke swirled, condensed, and reformed into Majin Buu's complete and undamaged body. "That fun," Buu clapped his hands excitedly. "Do again. Do again." The regeneration hadn't just been healing, it had been instantaneous restructuring of matter at the molecular level. Gohan's attack, powerful enough to destroy star systems, had been no more effective than throwing pebbles at the ocean. How? He breathed, his guardian mode faltering as he confronted the possibility that his perfected legendary power might not be enough. "Buu never really gone," the pink creature explained with childlike patience. "Buu is. How smart people say, what Buu is. Eternal," Majin Vegeta supplied grimly, having recovered from his own failed assault. "He's a primordial force given physical form. You can't destroy him any more than you can destroy entropy itself." It was then that both Saiyans realized the true scope of what they were facing. This wasn't just a powerful enemy, it was a fundamental force of the universe, chaos incarnate, destruction personified. Every civilization that had ever encountered Majin Buu had either been absorbed, transformed, or obliterated. But Gohan's son had never been one to accept defeat, especially when innocent lives hung in the balance. "Then I'll find a way," he said quietly, his guardian mode stabilizing into a new configuration they'd never seen before. The silver-green aura became more intense, more focused, taking on qualities that seemed to bend light around him. "If I can't destroy you, I'll find another solution." "What you doing?" Buu asked with genuine curiosity as Gohan's power began to change in ways that defied description. "Learning," Gohan replied. "My guardian mode responds to threats against innocent life by adapting, evolving, becoming whatever it needs to be. And right now, it's telling me that conventional force won't work against you." The transformation that followed was subtle but profound. Instead of increasing his raw power output, Gohan's legendary abilities began to shift toward something entirely new, techniques that operated on conceptual rather than physical levels. Methods that could affect the fundamental nature of existence itself. "Fascinating," a new voice interrupted the confrontation. "The legendary warrior is evolving in real time, adapting to an impossible opponent through sheer force of will." All three combatants turned to see a figure materializing out of thin air, tall, elegant, with an aura of absolute authority that made even Majin Buu pause in his playful destruction. "Who are you?" Gohan demanded, not lowering his guard but recognizing that this newcomer represented a different category of threat entirely. "I am Shin," the figure replied with a slight bow, "Supreme Kai of the Eastern Quadrant. And I've come to warn you that your battle with Majin Buu, while admirable, is attracting attention from forces far more dangerous than anything you've yet encountered." "More dangerous than him?" Majin Vegeta gestured toward Buu, who was currently trying to catch his own tail like a cosmic puppy. "Oh yes," Supreme Kai's expression was grim. "Majin Buu is a child playing with toys he doesn't understand. But there are beings in this universe who would see your legendary power as either a threat to be eliminated, or a resource to be harvested." As if summoned by his words, the sky above them began to darken with an energy signature that made even Gohan's perfected guardian mode tremble with instinctive warning. Something was coming. Something that made Majin Buu's ancient power seem quaint by comparison. The battle for Earth was about to become a war for the survival of reality itself. Location: Otherworld time. Simultaneous with the Buu confrontation, the crystal ball in King Yema's palace cracked from the energy feedback of what it was trying to display. "This is unprecedented," the giant red bureaucrat muttered, studying readings that pushed his instruments beyond their designed limits. "The power levels being generated on Earth are affecting the very fabric of the afterlife." Goku watched through the damaged crystal with growing alarm. His son's guardian mode had evolved beyond anything they'd trained for in the time chamber, accessing levels of legendary power that seemed to bend reality around them. But more concerning were the energy signatures that were beginning to take notice. "King Kai," he said urgently, "I need to go back, now." "Goku, you can't. The cosmic balance will be meaningless if my family dies because I wasn't there to help them." Goku's own power flared, his spirit form taking on aspects of legendary energy that shouldn't have been possible in the afterlife. Gohan is facing something beyond his current abilities. He needs backup. King Kai was quiet for a long moment, his divine senses reaching out to touch the unfolding crisis on Earth. What he sensed made his blue skin go pale. "You're right," he said finally, "but your return will change everything. Every cosmic force that's been content to ignore Earth will suddenly take interest. Every ancient evil that's been sleeping will wake up to investigate. Then they'll find out why Earth is worth protecting," Goku replied with grim determination. The decision was made. After 7 years of peaceful death, Son Goku was coming home, and when he arrived, the universe would discover that there was more than one legendary warrior willing to stand against the darkness. The final battle was about to begin. Location: Candy Landscape, Earth time. Moments later, Buu, bored with new friends, Majin Buu announced as Gohan struggled to comprehend Supreme Kai's warnings about greater threats. "They know fun, talk too much, not enough playing." But before the pink destroyer could act on his boredom, the sky exploded with golden light. A figure descended from the heavens like a falling star, his aura crackling with energies that made Gohan's heart leap with impossible hope. The newcomer landed between the legendary guardian and the ancient evil, his familiar orange gi and wild black hair unmistakable despite 7 years of absence. "Dad," Gohan whispered. Goku turned to his son with a smile that somehow contained both pride and apology. "Hey Gohan, sorry I'm late, looks like you could use some backup." The reunion was interrupted by Majin Buu's delighted clapping. "Another new friend, this one feel different, feel legendary." Goku's expression grew serious as he studied the pink creature. "So you're Majin Buu. King Kai told me about you during my trip back to life. Ancient evil, right? Destroyer of civilizations. Buu not evil," the creature protested with genuine hurt. "Buu just want to play, and that's exactly the problem," Goku replied gently. "Your idea of play hurts people, Buu." "Lots of people." For the first time since his awakening, Majin Buu looked genuinely confused by this concept. Play, hurt people, but Buu make them happy candy. How that hurt? Father and son exchanged a look that contained 7 years of separation, understanding, and shared purpose. "Want to show him together?" Goku asked. "Together," Gohan agreed. Twin auras erupted around the Sun family. Goku's controlled legendary gold-green, Gohan's evolved silver-green guardian mode. The combination created harmonics that resonated through dimensions, announcing to every cosmic power within 100 galaxies that Earth's legendary protectors were united once more. The final phase of the Majin Buu crisis was about to begin, and this time the ancient destroyer would face not one legendary warrior but two. Location: the Candy Landscape time. Immediately after Goku's return, the first combined attack from father and son rewrote the local laws of physics. Goku's controlled legendary power merged seamlessly with Gohan's evolved guardian mode, creating a beam of energy that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions. The golden green and silver green auras twisted together into something that transcended normal Kai, becoming a force that could affect not just matter and energy, but the fundamental concepts that gave them meaning. When it struck Majin Buu, the ancient destroyer didn't just regenerate, he remembered what it felt like to be truly harmed. "Ow," Buu said with genuine surprise, touching the smoking hole in his chest that was refusing to heal instantly. That actually hurt, Buu. How that possible?" "Because we're not just attacking your body," Gohan explained, maintaining his transformed state while studying the unusual wound. "We're attacking the idea of you being invulnerable." Goku nodded approvingly at his son's insight. "Guardian mode has evolved beyond what we trained for, hasn't it? It's not just legendary power anymore, it's conceptual manipulation." "I think so, Dad. When I saw those people turned into candy, something in me just shifted. The legendary power started working on different levels, trying to find ways to protect people from threats that conventional force couldn't handle." Their philosophical discussion was interrupted by Majin Buu's increasingly agitated movement. The pink creature was poking at his slowly healing wound with the fascination of a child discovering pain for the first time. "Buu no like hurting," he declared with growing anger. "Buu supposed to be strong. Buu supposed to win all games." The tantrum that followed leveled what remained of the landscape. Mountains of candy exploded into fragments, rivers of chocolate boiled away into steam, and the very air became charged with destructive energy that lashed out in all directions. But more concerning than the raw destruction was what Supreme Kai was detecting with his divine senses. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," the Eastern Kai said urgently. "Majin Buu's emotional outburst is sending ripples through dimensional space. Every cosmic power with the ability to sense legendary-level conflicts is now aware of this location. Meaning what, exactly? Majin Vegeta demanded, having finally extracted himself from his chocolate crater. Meaning we're about to have company, Supreme Kai replied grimly, and some of that company will make Majin Buu look like a minor inconvenience. As if summoned by his words, reality tore open near the edge of the battlefield. Through the dimensional rift stepped a figure that made every warrior present take an involuntary step backward. Tall, elegant, with an aura of absolute authority and eyes that held the cold light of dying stars. How interesting, the newcomer said in a voice like silk over steel. Imagine 2 legendary Saiyans and a Supreme Kai, quite the collection of cosmic anomalies in one primitive star system. Who are you? Goku demanded, his legendary senses picking up power readings that defied measurement. I am Whis, the figure replied with a slight bow, Angel of the 7th universe, and I'm here because my lord has taken an interest in your unusual power signatures. Your lord? Before Whis could answer, the dimensional rift widened and another figure stepped through. This one was shorter, cat-like in appearance, but carried an aura of casual omnipotence that made Majin Buu's ancient power feel insignificant. So these are the legendary warriors I've been hearing whispers about, the cat-like being said with mild interest. Unusual energy patterns, very unusual indeed. Supreme Kai immediately dropped to one knee, his divine composure cracking with genuine terror. Lord Beerus, God of Destruction, we didn't know you were taking an interest in this sector. Beerus, Goku repeated the name, his warrior instincts both attracted to and terrified by the power he was sensing. You're a god, not just any god, Beerus replied with casual arrogance. I am the god of destruction for this universe. It's my job to eliminate anything that threatens the cosmic balance. And you, legendary warriors, represent a very significant threat indeed. The revelation that gods, actual deities responsible for maintaining universal order, were taking notice of their power sent chills through both father and son. But it was Majin Buu's reaction that proved most interesting. Pretty kitty, the pink destroyer exclaimed with childish delight, reaching out to pet Beerus like a household cat. The god of destruction's response was swift and absolute. A casual flick of his finger sent Majin Buu flying across the continent, his ancient form finally showing signs of real damage from an attack that contained the authority of divine office. Annoying, Beerus muttered, then turned his attention back to the legendary Saiyans. Now, about you two, I've been told that your power levels approach those of gods themselves. Naturally, this concerns me. We're not a threat to universal balance, Gohan said carefully, his guardian mode shifting into a defensive configuration that he prayed wouldn't be interpreted as hostile. We only use our power to protect innocent life. But that's exactly the problem, Whis interjected with academic interest. Your legendary power draws strength from emotional connection to mortality. The stronger your bonds, the greater your power becomes. Left unchecked, such a feedback loop could theoretically reach infinite levels. Infinite power in the hands of mortals, Beerus added with growing irritation, tends to disrupt the natural order of things. Perhaps it would be simpler to eliminate you now, before you become a real problem. The casual suggestion of execution sparked something primal in both Goku and Gohan. Their legendary power responded not to the threat against themselves, but to the implicit threat against everyone they protected. Father and son moved in perfect synchronization, their combined auras creating a pillar of golden green and silver green light that stretched from earth to heaven. The energy they generated was beyond anything they'd achieved separately, approaching levels that made even a god of destruction pause to recalculate. Fascinating, Whis observed with genuine excitement. They're not just adding their power together, they're multiplying it exponentially through their emotional bond. The legendary power feeds on their connection to each other and amplifies accordingly. How? Irritating, Beerus said, but there was approval in his voice rather than annoyance. It's been quite some time since mortals have managed to make me feel anything resembling concern. The standoff might have escalated into a battle that would have destroyed entire galaxies, but it was interrupted by an unexpected voice. Wait, stop, everyone stop fighting. All eyes turned to see a small figure approaching the group of cosmic powers. Mr. Satan, the fraud world champion who had somehow stumbled onto the battlefield during his frantic search for a news crew. You can't hurt them, he declared with more courage than sense, placing himself between the gods and the legendary warriors. They're heroes, they saved the world from Cell. They protect everyone. The absolute ridiculousness of a normal human trying to protect legendary warriors from gods of destruction was so unexpected that even Beerus paused. "And you are?" the god of destruction asked with genuine curiosity. I'm the world martial arts champion," Mr. Satan replied, his voice shaking but determined. "And I'm telling you that these people are good. They risk everything to keep innocents safe. If you hurt them, you'll have to go through me first." The silence that followed was profound. Here was a man with virtually no power, no special abilities, no claim to significance beyond a fraudulent title, willingly placing himself in harm's way to defend people who could obliterate him without thinking. It was, in its way, more impressive than any display of legendary power. "Interesting," Beerus mused, studying the trembling human with something approaching respect. "Tell me, champion, why do you believe these warriors deserve protection?" "Because, Mr. Satan said simply, they've never stopped caring about people like me, people who can't defend themselves. They could rule the world if they wanted, but instead they just help. That's worth protecting." The god of destruction considered this for a long moment, then turned back to the legendary Saiyans with an expression that was impossible to read. "Very well," he said finally, "I will not eliminate you today. But understand, this is not a permanent reprieve. Your power will continue to grow, and when it reaches levels that truly threaten universal stability, I will return." "And then?" Goku asked. "Then we'll see if your legendary power is strong enough to challenge a god of destruction," Beerus replied with something that might have been a smile. "I do so enjoy a proper challenge." With that, the god and his angel attendant stepped back through their dimensional rift, leaving the legendary warriors to contemplate how small they suddenly felt in the cosmic hierarchy. But their relief was short-lived. Majin Buu's voice carried across the devastated landscape, no longer childish and playful, but cold and calculating. "Buu, learn something," the pink destroyer announced as he rose from the crater where Beerus had sent him. "Buu learn that pretty kitty's stronger than Buu. Buu no like being weaker." The transformation that followed was unlike his previous regenerations. Instead of simply healing damage, Majin Buu was evolving, absorbing the concepts of power and strategy from his brief encounter with divine authority. When the pink smoke cleared, the creature that emerged was no longer the innocent childlike being they'd been fighting. This version of Buu was leaner, more focused, with eyes that held cruel intelligence rather than playful curiosity. "Now," the transformed Majin Buu said with a voice like grinding stone, "Buu show everyone what real power looked like." The final phase of the battle was about to begin. And this time, childish innocence would not hold back the ancient destroyer's true potential. Location: Kami's lookout time. Simultaneous with the god encounter, the energy readings are off the charts, Dende said urgently as he monitored the situation through his divine senses. "Whatever's happening down there, it's attracting attention from across the universe." Piccolo stood at the edge of the lookout, his Namekian hearing picking up the distant sounds of cosmic-level combat. "Gohan's power has evolved again. I can feel it from here. His guardian mode is operating on levels we never imagined possible." "And Goku's back," Mr. Popo added with characteristic understatement. "His legendary power is different from when he died, stronger. More refined. Will it be enough?" Dende asked. "That pink creature, there's something fundamentally wrong with its existence. It feels like it predates the natural order of the universe." Before anyone could answer, the lookout was suddenly occupied by two new figures, a blue-skinned woman with silver hair and a short, stout man with an elaborate mustache. "Greetings," the woman said with officious politeness. "I am Vados, angel of the sixth universe. This is my lord, Champa, god of destruction for our reality. We've come to observe these legendary warriors we've been hearing so much about." "Another god of destruction?" Piccolo's voice was carefully neutral, but his power level spiked defensively. "Oh yes," Champa replied with casual interest. "My brother Beerus mentioned that this universe had developed some interesting mortals. We've come to see if they're worth borrowing." The implications of gods from other universes taking interest in Earth's legendary warriors sent chills through everyone present. The battle below was no longer just about stopping Majin Buu. It had become a cosmic audition that would determine the future of their entire reality. And judging by the energy readings that were beginning to appear at the edges of their dimension, universes 6 and 7 weren't the only realities that had taken notice. The universe-spanning consequences of legendary power were finally revealing themselves. Location: devastated battlefield, Earth time. After Buu's transformation, the evolved Majin Buu moved like liquid death. Where his childlike form had been clumsy and playful, this new version flowed through combat with terrifying efficiency. His attacks were no longer random bursts of power. They were calculated, precise, designed to exploit every weakness in his opponent's defenses. Goku and Gohan fought side by side, their legendary powers creating a defensive barrier that should have been impenetrable. But Buu was learning with every exchange, adapting to their techniques, finding gaps in their coordination that shouldn't have existed. "He's fighting like he has centuries of combat experience," Gohan gasped as he barely deflected a strike that would have pierced his heart. "Where did he learn to fight like this?" "He didn't learn," Supreme Kai called from a safe distance. "He's remembering. Majin Buu has existed for millions of years before his imprisonment. Every battle he ever fought, every technique he ever absorbed. It's all coming back to him now." The implications were staggering. They weren't just fighting a powerful enemy, they were fighting the accumulated combat knowledge of countless extinct civilizations. "Then we adapt too," Goku said firmly, his controlled legendary aura flaring brighter. "Gohan, remember the training in the time chamber, when we learned to fight as one unit rather than two separate warriors." "The harmonic synchronization technique," Gohan replied, immediately understanding. "But Dad, we never perfected it. The legendary power always fought against that level of coordination. Then it's time to perfect it now." What followed was a display of legendary power that redefined what Saiyan warriors were capable of achieving. Father and son moved in absolute synchronization, their attacks flowing seamlessly from one to the other, their defenses covering each other's vulnerabilities with microsecond precision. When Goku's controlled legendary form struck from the left, Gohan's guardian mode was already attacking from the right. When one warrior retreated to gather energy, the other advanced to maintain pressure. Their combined assault created a rhythm that even Buu's million years of experience couldn't immediately counter. "Impressive," the evolved Buu acknowledged, his voice now cold and analytical. "You've learned to multiply your power through perfect coordination, but multiplication still has limits." The pink destroyer's body suddenly split into dozens of copies, each one possessing a fraction of his total power but moving with the same terrifying intelligence. The clones surrounded the legendary warriors, attacking from every angle simultaneously. "A multi-body technique," Goku analyzed quickly, his enhanced perception tracking all the copies at once. "That's not just raw power, that's sophisticated strategy." "Strategy won't save you," all the Buu copies said in unison. "Strategy just makes your destruction more interesting." The battle that followed pushed both legendary warriors beyond anything they'd experienced before. Even fighting in perfect harmony, they were being overwhelmed by the sheer tactical complexity of fighting an enemy who could attack from infinite angles while learning from every exchange. "We need a new approach," Gohan said urgently as his guardian mode deflected attacks from 6 directions at once. "Conventional combat isn't going to work against this." "I have an idea," Goku replied, "but you're not going to like it. Try me, the Spirit Bomb. But not the normal version, a legendary spirit bomb that draws power from every living thing in the universe, filtered through our legendary energy." Gohan understood immediately why his father had warned him. A normal spirit bomb gathered pure, gentle energy from willing donors. A legendary spirit bomb would draw on protective instincts, parental love, the fierce determination to survive that characterized all living things. It would be more powerful than anything they'd created before, but it would also be far more dangerous to control. "Do it," Gohan said firmly. "I'll hold him off while you gather the energy." "Gohan, you can't face him alone." "I won't be alone," his son interrupted, his guardian mode evolving yet again as silver-green light became almost white with intensity. "Everyone I'm protecting, everyone who's counting on us, they're all with me." The power spike that followed Gohan's declaration made even the Supreme Kai take notice. Guardian mode had transcended its original design, becoming something that responded not just to external threats, but to the collective will of everyone who believed in Earth's legendary protector. "Fascinating," Buu's copies said, merging back into a single form to better analyze this new development. "Your power grows in response to faith. How quaint." "It's not quaint," Gohan replied, his evolved aura creating patterns in reality itself. "It's the difference between us. Your power comes from yourself, from your own ancient might. Mine comes from connection, to my family, to the people I protect, to every innocent life that deserves a chance to exist." "Then let's test whether connection is stronger than eternity," Buu declared, launching an attack that should have obliterated continents. Gohan met it head-on, his guardian mode transforming the destructive energy into harmless light that scattered across the sky like falling stars. Behind him, Goku raised his hands toward the heavens and began the most desperate technique of his life. People of Earth, his voice carried across the planet through some function of legendary power that transcended normal communication. I need your help. I need your energy, your strength, your will to survive, please. Lend me your power. On a normal day, such a request might have been met with suspicion or fear, but the world had watched legendary warriors protect them for years now. They'd seen Gohan save them from Cell, seen Goku sacrifice himself for their safety, seen both fighters put innocent lives above their own victory time and time again. The response was immediate and overwhelming. In cities around the globe, people raised their hands toward the sky. Energy began flowing from every living thing, not just humans, but animals, plants, even microorganisms contributing their tiny sparks of life force to the growing sphere of light above Goku's raised palms. But it was the quality of the energy that surprised everyone. Instead of the pure, gentle power of a normal spirit bomb, this energy carried weight, purpose, fierce determination. These weren't people passively donating power. They were actively fighting alongside their guardian, contributing their will to survive along with their energy. The sphere of light above Goku's hands grew larger, more complex, taking on colors that had never existed in conventional attacks. Golden for hope, silver for determination, green for the fierce protective instinct that all living things shared. It was the most beautiful and terrible thing anyone had ever witnessed, the concentrated will to survive of an entire planet, channeled through legendary power, focused with a single purpose. To protect innocence from eternal destruction. Gohan, Goku called out as the spirit bomb reached critical mass. It's ready, get clear. His son disengaged from Buu with a burst of speed that left afterimages across multiple dimensions, creating space for what was coming. The evolved destroyer watched with interest rather than fear, his ancient mind calculating odds and analyzing energy patterns. A spirit bomb empowered by legendary energy, Buu observed with academic curiosity. Clever. Drawing on the collective will of an entire planet should theoretically provide enough power to overcome even my regenerative abilities. Then you understand why you should surrender, Goku said, the massive sphere of light now large enough to dwarf mountains. I understand why you'll fail, Buu corrected. You see, there's a fundamental flaw in your technique. The spirit bomb requires pure energy, untainted by malice or selfish intent. But legendary power, true legendary power, comes from emotion, and emotion is never purely good. Before Goku could respond to this observation, Buu made his move. Instead of dodging or defending, the pink destroyer opened his mouth impossibly wide and began inhaling. Not air, the spirit bomb itself. No, Gohan screamed, but it was too late. The massive sphere of light containing the hopes and dreams of billions was being drawn into Majin Buu like water down a drain. What's he doing? Supreme Kai gasped in horror. He can't absorb a spirit bomb. The pure energy should destroy him from the inside. He's not absorbing it, Goku realized with dawning horror. He's converting it, turning all that hope and determination into his own power. It was true. As the spirit bomb disappeared into Buu's form, the pink destroyer began to change. His body swelled with stolen energy, his aura taking on colors it had never possessed before, gold and silver and green mixing with his natural pink, creating a chromatic nightmare that hurt to perceive. Thank you, Buu said with genuine appreciation as he finished consuming the spirit bomb. That was delicious. All that hope, all that determination. It tastes like candy. The transformation that followed created a version of Majin Buu that transcended his previous evolutions. This wasn't just the ancient destroyer with combat experience. This was Buu empowered by the very energy meant to destroy him, made stronger by the collective will of those who opposed him. This is bad, Gohan whispered, his guardian mode flickering with exhaustion and despair. We just made him stronger. Not just stronger, Goku replied grimly, studying the empowered destroyer with legendary senses that picked up details he wished they hadn't. He's learned something from the spirit bomb, something about unity, about combining power with purpose. He's evolving again. As if to confirm this observation, the empowered Majin Buu began to laugh, not with childish glee or cold calculation, but with the sound of someone who had finally understood a joke that had been told millions of years ago. I see it now, he said, his voice carrying harmonics that made reality tremble. The secret of legendary power, it's not about being born special, it's about connection. About bonds. The pink destroyer's form shifted one final time, becoming something that horrified everyone present. He was absorbing not just energy, but concepts, taking the very idea of legendary power and making it his own. And if bonds make you strong, Super Buu continued, his transformation reaching a horrifying conclusion, then I'll make my own bonds. With every planet I consume, every civilization I absorb, every life I take. I'll be connected to everything. The monstrosity that emerged from the final transformation was beyond description. Majin Buu's ancient evil combined with legendary-level power, empowered by the stolen spirit bomb, and now understanding the conceptual framework that made warriors like Goku and Gohan so formidable. This is my new form, Super Buu declared, and now, let's play the final game. Father and son stood side by side, their legendary powers feeling inadequate for the first time since they'd learned to control them. They'd pushed Majin Buu to evolve beyond anything the universe had prepared for, and now they would have to face the consequences. Gohan, Goku said quietly, I think it's time. Time for what? Time for me to teach you the one technique I swore I'd never use. The one King Kai made me promise to forget. What technique? Goku's expression was grave as he turned to his son. The legendary Super Saiyan 2 transformation, my trump card, the form that could destroy Super Buu. Or destroy us all trying. The decision that would determine the fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire universe, hung in the balance. Use the ultimate form and risk losing control to Berserker Rage. Or face an empowered Majin Buu with power they now knew wasn't enough. The choice would have to be made, and made soon. Location, sacred world of the Kai's time. Simultaneous with the failed spirit bomb Elder Kai watched the battle through mystical means, his ancient face twisted with concern that bordered on panic. This is exactly what I feared, he muttered to Kibito Kai. The legendary warriors are strong enough to push Majin Buu beyond his natural limits, but not strong enough to destroy him completely. They're making him evolve into something worse. Can anything stop him now? Kibito Kai asked. Perhaps, Elder Kai replied grimly, but it would require the legendary warriors to access their ultimate forms, and that might be worse than Majin Buu himself. Why? Because the legendary Super Saiyan 2 transformation doesn't just multiply power, it multiplies rage. If Goku and Gohan both access that form simultaneously, their berserker instincts will compound. They won't just destroy Majin Buu, they'll destroy everything, Kibito Kai finished with horror. Exactly, we're watching the universe be forced to choose between two apocalypses. An empowered Majin Buu who can't be stopped, or legendary warriors who won't stop destroying until nothing remains. As they watched the battle unfold, as they saw Goku begin explaining the ultimate transformation to his son, Elder Kai made a decision that would echo through eternity. Kibito, he said urgently, go to Earth, tell them about fusion. If the legendary warriors can fuse into a single being, they might be able to access ultimate power without losing control. Will it work? I have no idea, Elder Kai admitted. But it's the only option that doesn't guarantee universal destruction. The message was sent. The choice was made, and on Earth, legendary warriors prepared to discover whether unity could save them when individual power had failed. Location, devastated battlefield time. Moments after Super Buu's evolution, the legendary Super Saiyan 2 transformation, Goku began, his voice heavy with the weight of secrets kept for 7 years, is what happens when legendary power stops being contained by consciousness and becomes consciousness itself. Gohan stared at his father, trying to comprehend the implications. Around them, Super Buu circled like a predator giving its prey one last moment before the kill, fascinated by whatever technique the legendary warriors were discussing. I don't understand, Gohan said. Guardian mode already lets me access legendary power consciously. What's different about LSS-2? Everything. Goku's expression was haunted by memories of a transformation he'd only accessed once, in the depths of otherworld training where the consequences of losing control were minimized by already being dead. Guardian mode is you guiding the legendary power. LSS-2 is the legendary power guiding you. That sounds like the berserker state you experienced on Namek. It's similar, but infinitely worse. The Namek transformation was raw emotion without direction. LSS-2 is raw emotion with perfect direction, all of it focused on destruction. Goku's hands trembled slightly. When I accessed it in Otherworld, I destroyed an entire section of the afterlife before King Kai could help me power down, and that was with divine intervention. Supreme Kai, who had been listening from a distance, approached with urgency written across his face. You can't use that form, Goku. The cosmic balance can barely sustain one legendary warrior at Guardian mode level. An LSS-2 transformation would attract every god of destruction in the multiverse. I know, Goku replied grimly. But look at what we're facing. All eyes turned to Super Buu, who had stopped circling and was now studying his own transformed body with the fascination of a child discovering a new toy. The empowered destroyer radiated energy that felt fundamentally wrong. Ancient evil mixed with stolen hope, legendary-level power corrupted by an intelligence that viewed genocide as entertainment. "This is fun," Super Buu announced with disturbing cheerfulness. "Buu feels so strong now, strong like legendary warriors, maybe stronger." To demonstrate, he casually pointed at a mountain range in the distance. Pink energy erupted from his finger, and the mountains didn't just explode. They ceased to exist, erased from reality so completely that even their geological history vanished from the planet's memory. "He's not just destroying matter," Gohan whispered in horror. "He's destroying the concept of those mountains ever having existed." "Exactly," Supreme Kai confirmed. "By absorbing the spirit bomb, he's learned to affect reality on conceptual levels. The same ability your guardian mode uses to protect, he's now using to unmake." Before they could process this revelation, a new presence materialized on the battlefield, Kibito Kai, looking frantic and desperate. "There's another way," he called out, teleporting directly to the group of legendary warriors. "Elder Kai sent me with a technique that might save us all." "What technique?" Goku asked, hope and suspicion warring in his expression. "Fusion," Kibito Kai replied urgently. "Not just any fusion, a legendary fusion between you and Gohan. If you combine your powers into a single being, you could access LSS-2-level strength while maintaining conscious control." "Fusion?" Gohan looked between his father and the Kai with confusion. "I've never heard of such a technique." "It's ancient," Kibito Kai explained rapidly, pulling out a pair of golden earrings. "Patara fusion, a method used by Kais to merge consciousness and power. But it's never been attempted with legendary warriors before." "Because it's insanely dangerous," Supreme Kai interjected. "Fusing two legendary power signatures could create something that transcends normal existence. You might become too powerful for reality to contain. Or it might be exactly what we need," Goku countered, studying the earrings with his legendary senses. They felt old, ancient, containing power that predated the current universe. "Gohan, what do you think?" His son was quiet for a long moment, his guardian mode flickering as he processed the implications. Fusion would mean temporarily losing his individual identity, becoming something new that was neither Goku nor Gohan, but a combination of both. "Will we be able to separate afterward?" he asked. "The Patara fusion is permanent," Kibito Kai admitted reluctantly. "Once you merge, you'll remain fused forever." The word forever hung in the air like a death sentence. Gohan thought of his mother, his studies, his normal life that he'd fought so hard to maintain. Goku thought of Chi-Chi, of watching his son grow and develop as an individual, of all the moments they'd lose if they became a single being. "There has to be another way," Gohan said desperately. "Dad, what if we both accessed Guardian mode at maximum power, working together, maybe?" "It won't be enough," Goku interrupted gently. "I can sense it, son. Super Buu has learned too much, absorbed too much power. Even both of us at peak Guardian mode can't match what he's become." "Then we use LSS-2," Gohan said with grim determination. "Both of us. Simultaneously." "That would be suicide," Supreme Kai protested. "Two LSS-2 transformations at once would create a feedback loop of berserker rage. You destroy each other, destroy Buu, destroy the Earth, destroy everything within 100 light-years." "But Super Buu would be gone," Gohan replied coldly. "Sometimes the only way to win is to ensure your enemy can't win either." Goku recognized the logic. It was the same calculation he'd made when he stayed dead to keep enemies from targeting Earth. Sometimes sacrifice was the only answer. But asking his son to sacrifice his sanity, his humanity, his very self. There might be a third option, Vegeta's voice cut through the debate. All eyes turned to see the Majin-enhanced Saiyan prince approaching, his purple-tinged aura having faded to reveal the man beneath the dark magic. The confrontation with gods, the witnessing of power that made his own enhancement seem trivial, had apparently shocked Vegeta back to something resembling sanity. "The Majin enhancement Babidi gave me," Vegeta continued. "It wasn't control. It was permission, permission to stop holding back, to stop pretending I cared about consequences." "Your point?" Goku asked. "My point is that legendary power and Majin enhancement operate on similar principles. Both are about releasing limiters, about allowing emotions to fuel strength. What if we could give Gohan a controlled Majin boost? Let him access LSS-2 with the emotional intensity of Majin corruption, but maintain his Guardian mode consciousness." "That's insane," Supreme Kai breathed. Combining legendary power with Majin magic, the interaction could— His words were cut off by Super Boo's laughter. The empowered destroyer had been listening to their entire debate with growing amusement. So many options, Boo exclaimed with childlike delight. Fusion, double transformation, magic mixing, it's like choosing dessert. Boo can't wait to see what you pick. The casual dismissal of their desperate plans reminded everyone why they were having this conversation. Super Boo wasn't taking them seriously because, at his current power level, he didn't need to. He could afford to let them prepare their ultimate techniques because he genuinely believed nothing they did would matter. "We're running out of time," Gohan said urgently. "Boo might be toying with us now, but eventually he'll get bored and start destroying things. We need to decide." Goku looked at the Patara earrings in Kibito Kai's hands, then at his son's determined face, then at the twisted form of Super Boo enjoying their predicament. Three options, none of them good. Permanent fusion, losing themselves but gaining enough power to potentially win. Dual LSS-Two transformation, destroying everything but guaranteeing Boo's defeat. Imagine enhanced LSS-Two, a completely untested combination that might work or might create something worse than either problem. "There's a fourth option," a new voice declared. Reality tore open, and through the dimensional rift stepped Whis, the angel who had accompanied Beerus during their earlier visit. His expression was unusually serious for someone typically so detached. "Lord Beerus has been watching your predicament with interest," Whis explained, "and he's decided to offer, not help exactly but a clarification." "Clarification of what?" Gohan demanded. "Of what legendary power truly is," Whis replied, his staff glowing with divine authority. "You've both been treating your transformations as genetic accidents, as quirks of Saiyan biology. But legendary power is actually something far more significant." "Then what is it?" Goku asked. "It's a test," Whis said simply. "The universe occasionally produces beings with legendary potential to see if mortal life can handle godlike power without destroying itself. Most legendary warriors throughout history have failed this test, becoming destroyers that gods like Lord Beerus must eliminate." "But we haven't failed," Gohan protested. "We've used our power to protect people, precisely why Lord Beerus is offering this option." Whis gestured with his staff, and divine energy began to flow around both legendary warriors. "He will temporarily grant you access to a technique that gods use to maintain control at ultimate power levels. It won't give you more strength, but it will allow you to use your full strength without losing yourselves." "What's the catch?" Vegeta asked suspiciously. "The catch," Whis replied with a slight smile, "is that you'll be indebted to a god of destruction. Beerus will expect interesting fights in the future, perhaps visits to other universes. Maybe some help with problems that even gods find challenging." It was, in its way, a devil's bargain. Accept divine help and become servants to cosmic powers. Refuse and face almost certain destruction or loss of self. "How long do we have to decide?" Goku asked. "About 30 seconds, Whis replied, pointing to where Super Boo had stopped playing with his new powers and was now advancing toward them with clear destructive intent. "He's gotten bored with waiting." The moment of decision had arrived. 4 paths forward, each with its own price. Fusion power through unity, but loss of individual existence forever. Dual LSS-Two victory through mutual destruction, but the cost measured in light years of devastation. Imagine enhanced LSS-Two, untested, unpredictable, possibly creating something worse than the problem. Divine assistance maintaining control at ultimate power, but becoming pawns of gods. "Gohan," Goku said quietly as Super Boo's aura began to generate reality distortions that made the air scream, "This is your choice too. Whatever we do together." His son looked at the 4 impossible options, then at his father, then at the empowered destroyer who represented everything their legendary power was meant to protect against. "Together," Gohan agreed. And together they made their choice. Location: sacred world of the Kai's time. Simultaneous Elder Kai watched through mystical sight as the legendary warriors confronted their moment of ultimate decision. Around him, every deity in the local cosmic hierarchy was watching as well, holding their collective breath to see which path the mortals would choose. "This is it," he whispered. "The moment that will define not just Earth's fate but the entire multiverse's perception of legendary power." "What do you think they'll choose?" Kibito Kai asked. "I don't know," Elder Kai admitted. "But whatever they choose, the universe will never be the same afterward." On distant worlds, in far-off galaxies, beings of immense power watched and waited. Some hoped for the legendary warriors to fail, to prove that mortal life couldn't handle godlike strength. Others hoped for success, for proof that evolution could create beings worthy of cosmic significance. And in the space between moments, in the quantum instant before decision became action, the legendary warriors of Earth stood at the crossroads of destiny. Their choice would echo through eternity. Location, the battlefield time, the moment of decision will take the divine assistance, Goku said firmly, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. But on one condition. Whis raised an elegant eyebrow. Mortals negotiating with gods, how refreshingly audacious. The condition, Gohan continued, understanding his father's intent immediately, is that we only use this divine control technique against Super Buu. Afterward we go back to our normal legendary forms. No permanent changes, no lasting divine influence. You're asking for a temporary loan of god-level mental discipline, Whis mused, tapping his staff thoughtfully. Interesting. Most mortals who touch divine power never want to give it back. We're not most mortals, Goku replied. We're legendary warriors who have spent years learning to control power that could destroy galaxies. We don't need permanent crutches, we just need help getting through this one fight. Super Buu's laughter echoed across the devastated landscape. So proud, so determined. Buu loved watching strong people try so hard. The empowered destroyer's aura flared, reality warping around him as he prepared to attack. They had seconds, maybe less. Very well, Whis said with what might have been approval. Lord Beerus agrees to your terms, but understand, this divine control technique will show you what your legendary power could become with proper development. What you do with that knowledge afterward is your concern. His staff touched first Goku's forehead, then Gohan's. Divine energy flooded through their nervous systems, rewriting neural pathways that had evolved to handle legendary power into something far more efficient. The change was immediate and profound. Suddenly, the legendary power that had always felt like a separate entity, something to be negotiated with, controlled, carefully managed, became as natural as breathing. The mental barriers they'd spent years constructing weren't needed anymore. The meditation techniques, the emotional regulation, all the careful discipline that had defined their training. None of it was necessary when you understood legendary power at the divine level. This is, Gohan whispered, his guardian mode shifting into something that had no name because it had never existed before. Not quite LS Estuo, not quite guardian mode, but something that combined the best aspects of both. This is what we could have been all along, Goku finished, his own transformation reaching heights that made his previous legendary states look like rough drafts. Their auras merged and separated, danced and flowed, creating patterns in reality that even Supreme Kai struggled to comprehend. Gold and green and silver wove together into colors that existed outside normal perception, into wavelengths that carried meaning rather than just energy. And through it all, they remained completely themselves. No berserker rage, no loss of control, no sacrifice of humanity for power. Just two warriors who had finally learned to speak the language their legendary abilities had been trying to teach them for years. Now, Goku said, his voice carrying harmonics that made space-time resonate, let's end this. Location, the battlefield time, the final confrontation begins. Super Buu's smile faltered for the first time since his evolution. The legendary warriors standing before him had changed in ways his ancient intelligence couldn't fully process. Their power hadn't increased, not technically, but the quality of that power had transformed completely. What you do, he demanded, his childlike petulance mixing with genuine confusion. You feel different, Buu know like different. We learned, Gohan replied simply, his divine-enhanced guardian mode allowing him to perceive Buu's structure at levels that should have been impossible. We learned what legendary power really is. It's not a weapon, Goku added, moving into a fighting stance that somehow felt inevitable, as if reality itself was suggesting the correct positioning. It's not a curse. It's a language, a way of communicating intention directly to the universe itself. To demonstrate, Goku didn't attack. Instead, he made a gesture that looked more like conducting an orchestra than throwing a punch. And reality responded. The devastated landscape around them began to heal. Mountains that Buu had erased from existence reformed, not through reversal of time, but through reality being reminded that it had forgotten something important. Rivers that had been transformed into candy returned to water, the curse lifting because Goku's intention demanded it. He's not just using power, Supreme Kai breathed in awe. He's having a conversation with creation itself. Super Buu tried to counter, tried to reimpose his transformations, but found his reality-warping abilities blocked by something he couldn't understand. When he reached out to turn the mountains back into candy, the universe simply declined. This impossible. Buu's frustration was building toward rage. Buu's strongest. Buu absorbed Spirit Bomb. Buu learned legendary secrets. You learned what legendary power does, Gohan corrected gently, his own divine-enhanced form allowing him to perceive the fundamental wrongness in Buu's existence. But you never learned what it means. Power without understanding is just noise. The battle that followed redefined what combat meant at cosmic levels. When Super Buu attacked with enough force to shatter planets, Goku didn't block or dodge. He interpreted the attack's intent and responded with the spiritual equivalent of no thank you. The energy dissipated harmlessly, unable to manifest because the universe itself had been convinced it wasn't necessary. When the pink destroyer tried to transform the landscape into weapons, Gohan countered by suggesting to reality that perhaps maintaining stability would be preferable. The very molecules in the air chose to remain air rather than become instruments of destruction. It wasn't fighting in any conventional sense. It was philosophical debate conducted at the speed of thought, with the fabric of existence serving as the judge. And Super Buu, for all his absorbed power and ancient knowledge, had never learned to argue at this level. "This not fair," he wailed, his attacks becoming increasingly desperate and ineffective. Buu supposed to be strongest. Buu absorbed everyone's hope. Buu learned everything. "You learned facts," Goku said, almost sadly, "but you never learned wisdom." The legendary warriors' combined assault wasn't violent, it was corrective. With each exchange, they weren't damaging Super Buu so much as they were removing the layers of stolen power he'd accumulated. The spirit bomb energy that empowered him was gently extracted and returned to its original sources. The combat knowledge from extinct civilizations was archived in cosmic memory where it belonged rather than being weaponized. The legendary-level capabilities he'd mimicked were revealed as hollow imitations. Layer by layer, Super Buu was being deconstructed back to his original form. "Stop!" he screamed as his empowered state began to unravel. "Buu need this power, need to be strong. Need to matter." For just a moment, beneath the ancient evil and the stolen abilities and the cosmic-level threat, the legendary warriors glimpsed something they hadn't expected. Loneliness. Majin Buu, in his original creation, had been a weapon, a tool used by evil wizards for countless eons. He'd never been allowed to be anything else, never given the chance to discover what he could be beyond destruction. "You do matter," Gohan said quietly, his divine-enhanced perception allowing him to speak directly to the core consciousness buried beneath all of Buu's layers. But not as a destroyer. Not as something defined by how much you can hurt. "Then what?" The question came from somewhere deep inside the pink creature, from a part of him that had never been allowed to ask such things. "That's for you to discover," Goku replied. "But first, we need to separate you from all this stolen power. We need to find out who you really are beneath everything that's been imposed on you." The extraction process that followed was the most delicate use of legendary power either warrior had ever attempted. They had to remove Super Buu's accumulated abilities without destroying the fundamental consciousness that existed beneath them. It was cosmic surgery performed at the conceptual level, requiring precision that would have been impossible without their divine-enhanced understanding. Slowly, inevitably, Super Buu's form began to shrink. The stolen spirit bomb energy returned to Earth, where it would eventually find its way back to the people who had contributed it. The combat knowledge from extinct civilizations was sealed in cosmic archives. The legendary-level power he'd mimicked dissipated like morning fog. What remained was the original Majin Buu, not the innocent, childlike version from before, but not the empowered destroyer either. This was something else, something that had been buried so deep it had almost forgotten its own existence. A being that was tired of being evil, but didn't know how to be anything else. "Please," the original Buu whispered, his voice small and afraid. "Buu no want to go back to sleep. Buu no want to be weapon again, but Buu no know how to be good." Goku and Gohan looked at each other, and in that shared glance, they made a decision that would define the rest of their lives. "Then we'll teach you," Gohan said firmly. "You can't be serious," Supreme Kai protested. "He's still Majin Buu, still an ancient force of destruction. He's also a person who's asking for help," Goku countered. "And we don't abandon people who ask for help." Before the debate could continue, reality shuddered with a disturbance that made everyone present look toward the sky in horror. Something was happening, something that made even their recent cosmic-level battle seem insignificant by comparison. Whi's expression, always carefully controlled, showed genuine alarm. Oh my, this is unexpected. What is it? Gohan demanded. Your battle, your use of divine-enhanced legendary power, your entire confrontation with Majin Buu, it's attracted attention from the Omni-King. The who, Zano, Whis explained quickly, his usual calm cracking under pressure. The king of all, the being who rules over all 12 universes, who can erase entire realities with a thought. He's taken an interest in Earth. The implications were staggering. They'd been worried about gods of destruction noticing them. But the supreme ruler of the entire multiverse. Is that bad? Goku asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. That depends, Whis replied, his staff glowing as it detected the approaching cosmic authority. Zano is like a child, capricious, easily bored, completely unpredictable. If he finds you interesting, you might survive. If he finds you annoying. The angel didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood that beings who annoyed the king of all simply ceased to exist. A portal of pure light opened in the sky above them, and through it came a presence that made every other power signature they'd ever encountered feel like whispers compared to a scream. But what emerged wasn't a towering figure of cosmic authority. It was a small, blue-skinned child in robes that seemed woven from starlight itself. "Oh!" Zano exclaimed with genuine delight, floating down to inspect the legendary warriors like a child discovering new toys. "You're the ones who made all the pretty lights. I saw them from the palace. They were so sparkly." "Great King Zano," Whis said, immediately dropping to one knee in submission. "We are honored by your presence." "Hi Whis," Zano waved cheerfully, then turned his attention back to Goku and Gohan. "You two are fun, your energy makes such pretty colors. Can you do it again?" It was surreal. The being who could erase universes was asking them to perform like street entertainers. But Goku, who had never been good at reading social cues but excelled at reading intentions, sensed something crucial. Zano wasn't threatening them, he was genuinely curious. "Sure," Goku said with a smile, transforming into his divine-enhanced legendary state. "Like this. Ooh, and the other one." Gohan followed suit, his guardian mode creating silver-green patterns that danced around his father's gold-green aura. Together, they created a light show that was visible from orbit. Zano clapped his tiny hands with absolute joy. "So pretty, I want to see more. You two should come visit my palace sometime. We can have tournaments with all the strongest people from all the universes." "That sounds like fun," Goku agreed, and he genuinely meant it. The chance to fight warriors from other realities. That was exactly the kind of challenge he lived for. "Yay, then it's decided." Zano produced a small button from nowhere and handed it to Goku. "This is a special button. If you press it, I'll come right away. We can play together." With that pronouncement, the king of all simply left. The portal of light closed behind him, leaving everyone standing in shocked silence. "Did that just happen?" Gohan asked weakly. "You are now personal friends with the Omni-King," Whis said, his composure slowly returning. "I don't actually know if that's wonderful or terrifying, possibly both." As the implications of their new cosmic connection sank in as they processed everything that had happened, one thing became clear. Earth's legendary warriors had transcended their role as planetary protectors. They were now players on the multiversal stage. Location: sacred world of the Kai's time. Shortly after Zano's departure, the divine control technique is already fading, Elder Kai observed as he monitored Goku and Gohan's energy signatures. As agreed, it was only temporary. But they learned from it, Kibito Kai noted. Their legendary power is different now, more refined. They can't maintain that divine-enhanced level, but they've incorporated some of the principles. Which means they'll continue to grow, Elder Kai said thoughtfully. Their legendary power was already approaching God level. With these new techniques, with their understanding of conceptual manipulation, they might actually surpass gods through pure mortal development, Kibito Kai finished. Exactly. Which raises an interesting question. What happens when mortals become more powerful than the gods tasked with overseeing them? It was a question that would haunt the divine hierarchy for years to come. But for now, on Earth, two legendary warriors stood with their reformed enemy and contemplated a future that had suddenly become far more complex than they'd ever imagined. The Majin Buu crisis was resolved. But their journey as legendary warriors had only just begun. Location: sacred world of the Kai's time. Moments after the spirit bomb's failure, the silence was deafening. Goku floated in the void above the sacred world of the Kais, his chest heaving as he powered down from Super Saiyan 3. The spirit bomb, humanity's combined energy, the hopes and dreams of every living being on Earth and beyond, had failed. Kid Buu stood amid the smoking crater it had created, laughing with childlike delight at the destruction. Impossible, Vegeta whispered from where he'd collapsed near the edge of the battlefield, his body broken from buying Goku precious seconds. The spirit bomb should have erased him. It contained the energy of entire worlds. But Kid Buu wasn't like the other forms of Majin Buu they'd faced. This was Buu in his purest, most ancient state, evil given form, chaos incarnate, a force of destruction that had existed since the dawn of time itself. The spirit bomb's purifying energy, which should have obliterated any being with darkness in its heart, had simply been absorbed and scattered like rain on stone. Goku, Supreme Kai's voice carried urgent desperation. What do we do now? That was our strongest technique. If the spirit bomb couldn't stop him. I know, Goku interrupted, his voice unusually quiet. His eyes were fixed on Kid Buu, who was already reforming from the damage the spirit bomb had managed to inflict. The pink monster stretched like he'd just woken from a pleasant nap, completely unconcerned by the cosmic-level attack he'd just tanked. Around them, the sacred world of the Kais trembled. This realm, protected by divine power and existing outside normal spacetime, was beginning to crack under the stress of containing legendary-level combat. If Kid Buu wasn't stopped soon, his mere presence would tear apart one of the universe's most sacred places. There has to be another way, Old Kai muttered, frantically flipping through ancient texts that materialized from his divine memory. Some technique, some fusion, some… There is, Goku said softly. Something in his tone made everyone stop. Vegeta's head snapped up despite his injuries. Supreme Kai's anxious movements froze mid-gesture. Even Old Kai paused in his frantic research to stare at the legendary warrior. What do you mean? Vegeta asked, and there was something in his voice, not hope exactly, but recognition. The Saiyan prince had spent decades studying Goku's power, analyzing every transformation, every technique, every subtle fluctuation in his energy signature. And now, looking at his rival's troubled expression, Vegeta suddenly understood. No, the prince breathed. You didn't, tell me you didn't. Goku turned to face him, and his eyes held depths of power and sorrow that made Vegeta's blood run cold. I'm sorry, Vegeta, I've been hiding something, from everyone. The admission hung in the air like a death sentence. Hiding what? Supreme Kai demanded. Goku, if you have some secret technique that can defeat Buu, why didn't you use it earlier? Because I hoped I'd never need to, Goku replied, his voice carrying the weight of years of suppression and discipline. Because using it means accepting what I truly am, what I was born to be. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, his power signature completely vanished, suppressed so thoroughly it was as if he'd ceased to exist. When he opened them again, they were filled with a determination that bordered on resignation. You all know I'm the legendary Super Saiyan, he began quietly. You've seen me use that power, the golden-green transformation that destroyed Namek, the berserker rage I learned to control through King Kai's training. But what you don't know, what I've kept hidden for all these years, his fists clenched, golden energy beginning to spiral around him, is that the transformation you've seen isn't my full power. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Vegeta's eyes widened with something that might have been betrayal or vindication or terror, possibly all three. Impossible, Supreme Kai whispered. The power you've displayed, the energy readings we've recorded. You're saying there's more, much more, Goku confirmed, and there was genuine pain in his voice. In other world, during the 7 years I was dead, I didn't just train to maintain my strength. I trained to access the next level of legendary power, something King Kai found in ancient texts, something that supposedly appears once in the lifetime of a legendary warrior. Legendary Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta said flatly, his tactical mind already racing through the implications. You achieved it, you actually achieved a transformation beyond the legend itself, Goku nodded slowly. I've only used it once before in training, with King Kai observing from a safe distance. The power. It's beyond anything you've ever seen from me. It makes my controlled legendary transformation look restrained by comparison. Then why hide it? Supreme Kai demanded. If you possess such power, why allow the situation to deteriorate this far? Because, Goku's voice grew heavy with the burden of knowledge, legendary Super Saiyan 2 isn't just a transformation. It's an apocalypse given form. The energy it generates affects reality itself, warps spacetime, disrupts the cosmic balance, sends shockwaves across dimensional barriers. Using it is like setting off a beacon that tells every powerful being in the multiverse exactly where I am. He turned to look at each of them in turn, Supreme Kai, Old Kai, Vegeta, even Dende and Mr. Satan, who huddled together near the edge of the battlefield. I hoped Earth would never face a threat that required that level of power, he continued. I prayed that my current abilities, Gohan's guardian powers, Vegeta's strength, that it would all be enough. But Kid Buu, as if summoned by his name, the pink destroyer chose that moment to resume his attack. A massive energy sphere materialized above his outstretched hands, growing larger by the second as Buu poured his ancient power into the technique. "Planet go boom," Buu announced cheerfully, and launched the attack directly at the sacred world of the Kais. Goku moved without thinking, appearing between the attack and his friends in an instant. His hands came up to catch the energy sphere, and for a moment he struggled against its massive power. Then, with a roar of effort, he redirected it harmlessly into space where it detonated like a dying star. But the exertion had taken its toll. Goku dropped to one knee, breathing hard, his Super Saiyan 3 transformation flickering like a candle in high wind. "You're exhausted," Vegeta observed grimly. "Even at full power, you wouldn't be able to maintain SS3 long enough to defeat Buu in conventional combat." "I know," Goku gasped, "which means your only option is this secret transformation." "Yes." Vegeta was quiet for a long moment, his sharp mind processing the situation and reaching the same conclusion Goku had already accepted. "If you use legendary Super Saiyan 2, what will it cost us?" The question was tactical, not emotional, but Goku appreciated the precision. Vegeta wasn't asking if he should use it. The Saiyan Prince had already determined it was necessary. He was simply calculating the price. "Short term, the energy I release will probably destroy this realm entirely. Everyone except me and Buu will need to evacuate to a safe distance, and I'm not sure anywhere in this universe qualifies as safe once I transform." "And long-term?" Vegeta pressed. "Long-term?" Goku's expression grew distant, troubled. "Every god, demon, and cosmic entity within 1,000 galaxies will know exactly what I am and where to find me. Earth will become a target for forces you can't imagine. The peace we've enjoyed, it ends the moment I show them what legendary power at its peak truly means." Supreme Kai's face had gone pale. "You're talking about attracting the attention of beings beyond even the Kai's authority. Gods of destruction, angels, perhaps even Zano himself." "I know," Goku repeated, and this time his voice was barely a whisper. "Then we find another way," Supreme Kai insisted desperately. "There has to be another option. Fusion, the Patara earrings, something that doesn't risk." "There isn't time," Vegeta interrupted coldly, gesturing at Kid Buu who was already preparing another attack. "Look at him. He's playing with us, testing different techniques, experimenting with destruction. When he grows bored, he'll simply erase this entire dimension and move on to the next one. We either stop him now with Kakarot's full power, or we watch as he reduces the universe to his personal playground." The Saiyan Prince struggled to his feet, his injured body protesting every movement. "Do it, Kakarot. Show them what the legendary Super Saiyan was always meant to become." "Vegeta, don't," Vegeta cut him off sharply. "Don't apologize, don't make excuses. You've carried this burden alone for years, pretending to be weaker than you are to avoid frightening the people you protect. But I've always known there was something more, some final reserve of power you kept locked away." His expression shifted into something that might have been respect or envy or acceptance, possibly all three. "I've spent my entire life trying to surpass you," Vegeta continued. "Trying to prove that royal blood and elite determination could overcome genetic accidents of legendary birth. But I understand now, you weren't holding back because you doubted me. You were holding back because you're terrified of what you might become." Goku met his rival's eyes, seeing understanding there that went beyond words. "Show me, Kakarot," Vegeta said quietly. "After all these years of rivalry, after all the battles we've shared, show me the true face of the legend I've been chasing my entire life." For a moment, Goku wanted to refuse, wanted to find some other way, some technique or strategy that didn't involve unleashing apocalyptic power. But Kid Buu's laughter echoed across the sacred world, a sound of pure chaos and malice that reminded them all what was at stake. The universe needed a destroyer to face the destroyer, and Goku was the only one who could provide it. "Everyone get back," he said, his voice taking on harmonics that made reality itself seem to vibrate. "Supreme Kai, Old Kai, take Vegeta, Dende, and Mr. Satan as far from here as you can. Find a dimensional barrier and get behind it." "What about you?" Dende asked in a small voice. Goku's smile was sad but determined. "I'll be fine. This is what I was born for, what the universe created me to do. Now go." "Please?" Supreme Kai opened his mouth to protest, but Old Kai placed a wrinkled hand on his shoulder. "Let him do this. The legendary warrior has made his choice." Within seconds, Kai teleportation had whisked the observers to the farthest edge of the sacred world, where ancient barriers might offer some protection from what was coming. Only Goku and Kid Buu remained in the central battlefield, two forces of cosmic destruction preparing for their final confrontation. "You strong," Buu announced happily, bouncing on his feet like an excited child. "Buu like fighting strong people, make good candy later." "I'm sorry, Buu," Goku said softly, his golden Super Saiyan 3 transformation beginning to fade as he powered down completely. "But this fight ends now. One way or another." He stood in his base form for a moment, black hair whipping in winds that seemed to come from nowhere. Then he began to gather his power, not the controlled flow he'd maintained for years, but the absolute totality of what he was capable of. "I'm Goku," he said to himself, to the universe, to whatever forces were about to bear witness. "Son of Bardock, father of Gohan and Goten, husband of Chi-Chi. Protector of Earth." Golden light began to spiral around him, taking on familiar green tints as legendary power awakened. "I'm a Saiyan warrior, a martial artist who loves the thrill of battle. A friend to everyone who believes in peace." The green in his aura grew more pronounced, reality beginning to warp at its edges as spacetime struggled to contain the emerging energy. "And I'm the legendary Super Saiyan, born once every 1,000 years, carrying power that was never meant to exist in mortal hands." His hair spiked upward, shifting from black to gold, muscles expanding as the familiar transformation took hold. But he didn't stop there, didn't let the power plateau at the controlled legendary state everyone had seen before. But more than that, his voice was changing now, taking on harmonics that seemed to echo across dimensions. "I'm what happens when the legend evolves. When legendary power is guided by love instead of rage. When destruction is tempered by the desire to protect." The golden-green aura exploded outward, and for the first time in years, Goku stopped holding back. "I am legendary Super Saiyan 2, the transformation that followed lit up the entire 7th universe. Location, sacred world of the Kai's time, the moment of transformation the universe held its breath. From the farthest edge of the sacred world of the Kais, Vegeta watched through a protective barrier as reality itself began to break. The golden-green aura surrounding Goku wasn't simply energy anymore, it was something fundamental, something that existed on a level beyond mortal comprehension. "By the gods," old Kai whispered, his ancient eyes wide with a fear he hadn't felt in millennia. "I've read about this in texts so old they predate the Kai lineage itself. The legendary Super Saiyan's ascended form, the destroyer's true face." Supreme Kai's hands were trembling as he maintained the barrier. "The energy readings, they're not possible. My scanner just exploded trying to measure his power level." "Numbers don't mean anything anymore," Vegeta said quietly, unable to tear his eyes away from the transformation. "What we're witnessing. This is what I've been chasing my entire life. This is the wall I could never climb." At the center of the battlefield, Goku's scream had become something beyond sound, a vibration that resonated through dimensional barriers, across spacetime itself. The golden-green aura around him expanded, contracted, then exploded outward with such force that chunks of the sacred world simply ceased to exist, erased by the pressure of legendary power breaking free. His hair, already spiked in the familiar Super Saiyan style, began to shimmer and shift. The golden color deepened, taking on an almost metallic quality, while the green tints intensified until they dominated the transformation entirely. Emerald lightning crackled through the aura, not ordinary Kai, but something that made reality itself ripple and warp wherever it touched. "Impossible," Dende breathed from behind the barrier. His body. "It's changing the fundamental laws of physics around him." He was right. Where Goku stood, gravity fluctuated wildly, sometimes crushing, sometimes non-existent. Time moved at different speeds, creating afterimages that weren't illusions but actual temporal echoes of his transformation. Space itself seemed to bend toward him, as if his mere presence was creating a singularity of power. Kid Buu, who had been bouncing excitedly at the prospect of fighting someone strong, had gone completely still. For the first time since his creation at the dawn of time, the pure embodiment of destruction felt something he'd never experienced before. "Fear strong," Buu said slowly, his childlike voice losing its playful edge. "Too strong, wrong strong." The pink demon took an involuntary step backward as Goku's transformation reached its critical point. The legendary warrior's muscles expanded, but not with the grotesque bulk of uncontrolled legendary power. This was refined, perfected, every ounce of mass serving a purpose. His eyes opened, revealing irises that blazed with emerald fire, pupils ringed with golden light that seemed to contain entire galaxies of power. When Goku spoke, His voice carried harmonics that made the fabric of reality vibrate in sympathy. This is legendary Super Saiyan 2. The declaration sent shockwaves racing across the seventh universe. On distant worlds, gods and demons alike turned their attention toward the sacred world of the Kais, sensing the emergence of power that rivaled cosmic forces. In Otherworld, King Yema's desk cracked under the pressure of the energy signature reaching even into the afterlife. On Earth, newly restored by the Dragon Balls, every martial artist simultaneously looked toward the sky, feeling something that made their instincts scream danger. And in a distant realm beyond mortal comprehension, a purple cat stirred from his nap. "Wheeze," Lord Beerus, god of destruction of Universe 7, murmured with sudden interest. "What is that energy I'm sensing?" "Fascinating," his angelic attendant replied, staff glowing as it analyzed the distant power signature. "It appears to be a Saiyan, my lord, but the energy profile is unusual. Legendary class output with perfect key control, quite remarkable." Beerus's eyes narrowed with predatory interest. "How long until we can investigate?" "Based on current trajectory, approximately 2 years, my lord." "Shall I note it on your schedule?" "Do that," the god of destruction said, settling back into his cushions with a satisfied smile. A Saiyan with interesting power, that might be worth waking up for. But Goku was unaware of the cosmic attention he'd just attracted. His focus was entirely on Kid Buu and on maintaining control over the apocalyptic power now flowing through his body. "I can feel it," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "Every cell in my body is screaming to destroy everything around me. The berserker instinct is 1,000 times stronger than my regular legendary form." His fists clenched, emerald energy cascading off them like waterfalls of pure destruction. "But I'm not the same warrior who first transformed on Namek. I've trained for this, prepared for this, I can control it." He took a step forward and the sacred world trembled. Another step and the dimensional barriers separating it from normal space began to crack. When he looked up at Kid Buu, his expression was calm but absolutely determined. "I'm sorry it had to come to this," Goku said. "But you're too dangerous to exist. For the sake of everyone in this universe, for all the innocent people you've killed and would kill again, I'm going to erase you completely." Kid Buu's fear lasted exactly 3 seconds before his nature reasserted itself. He was chaos, he was destruction. He was the monster that had terrorized galaxies since the beginning of time, and he didn't run from anything. "Buu strongest," the pink demon roared and launched himself at Goku with speed that should have been impossible for something so bulky. The collision between legendary Super Saiyan 2 and Kid Buu shattered what remained of the central battlefield. Goku caught Buu's punch with one hand, and the impact generated a shockwave that propagated across dimensional boundaries. In the living world, planets in neighboring solar systems experienced sudden earthquakes. In Otherworld, the check-in station's foundation cracked. In the sacred world itself, everything within a mile radius of the combatants simply disintegrated into component atoms. "You're strong," Goku acknowledged, his voice still carrying those reality-warping harmonics. "Probably the strongest opponent I've ever faced in terms of pure destructive capability." He twisted, using Buu's own momentum against him, and threw the demon into what remained of the distant mountains. The impact carved a crater visible from space. But strength isn't everything. Goku vanished, moving at speeds that transcended normal perception. He appeared above Buu's crater, hands cupped at his side, emerald energy gathering between his palms. "Ka-me!" The energy sphere forming between his hands wasn't blue like a normal Kamehameha. It burned with golden-green fire that seemed to consume the very space it occupied. "Ha! Me?" Kid Buu burst from the crater, arms extended, firing his own devastating energy blast. The pink beam of pure destruction rocketed toward Goku, carrying enough power to vaporize entire star systems. "Ha!" The legendary Kamehameha met Kid Buu's attack in midair, and for a moment the two apocalyptic forces were evenly matched. Pink and golden-green energies swirled around each other, each trying to overwhelm the other, reality screaming in protest at the collision. From behind the barrier, Vegeta watched with analytical precision. "Look at the energy flow," he told Supreme Kai. "Buu is pouring everything into that blast, his entire power output focused on a single attack." "And Goku?" Supreme Kai asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Is barely trying," Vegeta finished, a mixture of awe and resignation in his voice. "That Kamehameha, he's using maybe 20% of his current power. He's testing Buu's limits." As if hearing the analysis, Goku's expression shifted into something more serious. The emerald lightning around his aura intensified, and the golden-green Kamehameha suddenly doubled in size and power. Kid Buu's eyes widened as his own attack was overwhelmed, pushed back, consumed by legendary energy that refused to be denied. The pink demon tried to dodge, but the Kamehameha tracked him with impossible precision, slamming into his body with the force of a collapsing star. The explosion illuminated the entire sacred world. When the light faded, Kid Buu's body had been completely vaporized, reduced to pink mist that scattered on winds generated by the blast's aftermath. Did we win? Dende asked hopefully. No, Vegeta said flatly, pointing to where the pink mist was already coalescing, reforming into Kid Buu's familiar shape. Majin Buu's regeneration operates on a magical level. Physical damage, no matter how severe, won't kill him permanently. Goku nodded, having reached the same conclusion. I need to hit him with something that destroys him on a fundamental level, something that erases not just his body, but the magical essence that allows him to regenerate. Kid Buu, fully reformed, seemed to realize he couldn't win through conventional combat. His body began to shift and change, morphing into a massive sphere that expanded rapidly. Oh no, Old Kai gasped. That technique, he's going to self-destruct. The pink sphere swelled to enormous proportions, containing enough explosive power to obliterate not just the sacred world, but potentially the entire divine realm. Kid Buu was willing to destroy himself if it meant taking Goku with him. Everyone hold on to me, Supreme Kai shouted, preparing to use Kai teleportation to escape, but Goku raised a hand, stopping him. No need. He floated upward until he was level with the expanding Buu sphere. Emerald lightning crackled across his body as he gathered power, not into an attack, but into himself, concentrating legendary energy to levels that made the air around him ignite. In legendary Super Saiyan 2, he said calmly, my ki becomes more than energy, it becomes a force that can affect existence itself. He placed both palms against the surface of the Buu sphere. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then golden-green light began to spread across the pink surface like veins, penetrating deep into the magical construct. This isn't just power, Goku continued, his eyes blazing with concentration. This is will, this is intention. This is the absolute refusal to let destruction win. The Buu sphere began to shrink. Kid Buu, trapped inside his own technique, screamed in confusion and rage as his self-destruct attack was reversed, compressed, contained by legendary power that operated on a level his ancient magic couldn't counter. I've seen what you are, Goku said softly, though his voice carried across the battlefield. You're not evil by choice, you're destruction given consciousness, chaos shaped into a living being. You never had a chance to be anything else. The sphere continued to shrink, now barely larger than a basketball. But that doesn't mean I can let you continue to exist. Too many people have died, too many worlds destroyed. I'm sorry, Kid Buu, I really am. The sphere collapsed completely, condensing into a single point of impossibly compressed energy hovering between Goku's palms. Kid Buu's face pressed against the interior surface, eyes wide with the first real terror he'd ever experienced. Maybe in your next life, Goku whispered, you'll get a chance to be something more than destruction. He closed his hands and the compressed sphere imploded. The implosion wasn't explosive, it was the opposite. A sphere of absolute silence expanded from where the attack had been, swallowing light and sound and energy itself. Within that sphere, Kid Buu's essence was being erased on a fundamental level, his magical bonds broken, his regenerative properties nullified, his very existence being written out of reality. When the silent sphere faded, there was nothing left. No pink mist, no magical residue, not even a faint key signature. Kid Buu, the ancient destroyer who had terrorized the universe since its earliest days, was completely and utterly gone. It's over, Supreme Kai breathed, barely able to believe it. Kid Buu is actually dead. Goku floated in the air for a moment, his legendary Super Saiyan 2 aura still blazing with apocalyptic power. Then slowly, carefully, he began to power down. The process was visibly difficult. The emerald lightning fought against containment, trying to maintain the transformation. The legendary instinct screamed at him to stay powered up, to find new opponents, to continue testing this ultimate strength. But Goku had trained for this, spent 7 years in otherworld learning to control the transition between forms. Control, he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. Mind over power, will over instinct, I am not my transformation. The golden-green aura flickered, dimmed, then finally vanished as he dropped back through regular legendary form, through Super Saiyan 3, through all the intermediate stages until he stood in his base form once again. Black-haired, normal-sized, looking utterly exhausted, and then he fell from the sky. Kakarot, Vegeta's shout was the last thing Goku heard before unconsciousness claimed him. Hours later when Goku woke, he was lying on soft grass in an undamaged section of the sacred world. Dende's hands glowed with healing energy above his chest, while Supreme Kai hovered nearby with obvious concern. "Easy," Dende said gently as Goku tried to sit up. "You almost died. The strain of using legendary Super Saiyan 2, your body was tearing itself apart from the inside." "Worth it, though," Goku said with a weak smile. "Buu's really gone, completely erased," Old Kai confirmed, approaching with a mixture of respect and wariness. "I've scanned the entire universe. There's no trace of his magical signature anywhere. You didn't just kill him, you removed him from existence." Goku's expression grew troubled. "I didn't want to do that, but there was no other way to stop him permanently." "Don't apologize for saving the universe," a familiar voice said. Vegeta stepped into view, his arms crossed but his expression showing grudging approval. "You did what needed to be done, what only you could do." The Saiyan Prince was quiet for a moment, then continued, "I saw it, Kakarot. The power I've been chasing my entire life, the wall I could never climb." "Vegeta, let me finish," Vegeta interrupted. "For years, I've told myself that with enough training, enough determination, enough pride, I could surpass you. That my royal blood and elite heritage would eventually overcome your genetic advantages." He met Goku's eyes directly. "But watching you in legendary Super Saiyan 2, I finally understand, you're not just stronger than me. You're operating on a completely different level, a level I may never reach." "That's not true," Goku protested, struggling to sit up despite Dende's healing hands. "Vegeta, you're one of the strongest warriors in the universe. You pushed past your limits to achieve Super Saiyan, you fought Majin Buu to a standstill, I know what I've accomplished," Vegeta said calmly. "And I'm not saying I'll stop trying to surpass you. That would go against everything I am." A slight smile crossed his face, not mocking but genuine. "But I can acknowledge reality while still striving to change it. You're the legendary Super Saiyan, Kakarot. The warrior born once every 1,000 years. And today you proved why the legend exists." Goku didn't know what to say to that. After decades of rivalry, of competition, of Vegeta's pride driving him to ever greater heights in pursuit of surpassing the legendary warrior, this moment of acceptance felt surreal. "The question is," Supreme Kai said, drawing everyone's attention, "what happens now?" "What do you mean?" Goku asked. "The energy you released when you transformed into legendary Super Saiyan 2, Old Kai explained gravely. "It didn't just affect this realm. It sent ripples across dimensional barriers, through space-time itself. Every god, demon, and cosmic entity within 1,000 galaxies now knows that power exists and where to find it." The weight of those words settled over the group like a physical presence. "You're saying we're going to have visitors," Vegeta said flatly. "Undoubtedly," Supreme Kai confirmed. "Beings who seek to challenge that power, entities who view legendary-level strength as a threat. Perhaps even," he hesitated, glancing at Old Kai. "The gods of destruction," Old Kai finished grimly. "Our universe's god of destruction, Lord Beerus, hasn't taken an interest in mortal affairs for decades. But a power signature like what Goku just displayed, that might be enough to wake him from his slumber." "God of destruction," Goku repeated, his exhaustion forgotten in the face of new information. "What's that? A being whose power makes your legendary Super Saiyan 2 look quaint by comparison," Old Kai said bluntly. "A cosmic force whose job is to maintain universal balance by destroying planets and civilizations that threaten the natural order." The cheerful light in Goku's eyes at the mention of a powerful opponent dimmed when he saw Old Kai's serious expression. "This isn't like our other battles, is it?" "No," Supreme Kai said quietly. "If Lord Beerus decides Earth is a threat because of your power, there's nothing any of us can do to stop him." Silence fell over the group as they contemplated this new reality. Goku had saved the universe from Kid Buu, but in doing so, he'd painted a target on Earth that might attract forces even more dangerous. "How long do we have?" Vegeta asked, ever the tactician. "Unknown," Old Kai admitted. Beerus's last known location was in a distant galaxy. He could arrive tomorrow, or it might be years before he investigates the energy signature. But he will come eventually. "Of that I'm certain." Goku looked down at his hands, still trembling slightly from the aftermath of using legendary Super Saiyan 2. The power he'd wielded had been incredible, beyond anything he'd imagined possible. But it had also been terrifying in its destructiveness, in how easily it could have spiraled out of control. "Then I'll train," he said simply. "I'll master legendary Super Saiyan 2 completely so I have perfect control." And I'll get even stronger, so if this god of destruction does show up, I can protect Earth. Kakarot, Vegeta said with something that might have been exasperation or affection or both, you just saved the universe and nearly killed yourself in the process. Can you go 5 minutes without thinking about getting stronger? Goku's trademark grin finally returned. Nope, besides, you heard what they said. We might have years before anyone shows up. That's plenty of time to train. Despite the serious situation, everyone found themselves smiling. After everything they'd been through, after facing extinction at Kid Buu's hands, Goku's irrepressible optimism and love of combat was somehow exactly what they needed. Well then, Vegeta said, uncrossing his arms and adopting a fighting stance despite his injuries, I suppose I'll have to train as well. Can't have you getting too far ahead, legendary warrior or not. That's the spirit, Goku laughed. If you two are quite finished, Dende interrupted with gentle firmness, Goku still needs several more hours of healing before he can even stand up, let alone train. Listen to the Guardian, old Kai added. You've saved the universe, but you've also changed it. The age of hiding your true power is over. What comes next? That's a story that's only just beginning. As Dende resumed his healing and the others began discussing plans for returning to Earth, Goku looked up at the strange sky of the sacred world. Somewhere out there, cosmic forces were taking notice of what he'd become. New challenges awaited, perhaps challenges even greater than Kid Buu. But for now, for this moment, the universe was safe. His friends were alive. And Earth would see another peaceful day. The legendary Super Saiyan had revealed his ultimate power, and the cosmos would never be quite the same. Location: Sacred World of the Kai's Ruins. Time: immediately after Kid Buu's erasure, the first thing Vegeta noticed was the silence. Not just an absence of sound, a void so complete it felt like the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting to see if it would survive what had just been unleashed. The legendary Kamehameha's passage had left scars in reality itself, visible as shimmering distortions that would take centuries to fully heal. The second thing he noticed was Goku collapsing. Kakarot, Vegeta's shout broke the silence as he launched himself from the dimensional barrier, ignoring Supreme Kai's warnings about residual energy. His battered body protested every movement, but Saiyan pride, and something deeper he refused to name, drove him forward. He reached Goku just as the legendary warrior fell forward, catching him before he hit the fractured ground. Up close, the cost of that final technique became horrifyingly clear. Goku's skin was ashen, drained of color like a corpse. His breathing came in shallow, labored gasps that rattled in his chest. The golden-green aura that had defined his legendary Super Saiyan 2 form was gone entirely, not even a flicker remaining. But worse than any visible injury was his key signature, or rather, the almost complete absence of it. He's dying, Vegeta stated flatly, his tactical mind cutting through emotion to assess the situation. The technique consumed nearly all his life force. He's operating on fumes. Supreme Kai and Old Kai materialized beside them, their Kai teleportation bringing the rest of the group. Dende immediately knelt beside Goku, his young face stricken as his divine healing senses confirmed Vegeta's diagnosis. His energy reserves are at critical levels, the young Guardian said, green hands already glowing with healing power. The legendary Super Saiyan 2 transformation doesn't just use Kai, it burns through the user's life force itself. That final Kamehameha consumed decades of lifespan in seconds. Can you heal him? Vegeta demanded, surprised by the urgency in his own voice. I can stabilize him, keep him from dying immediately, but full recovery, Dende shook his head helplessly. This is beyond my abilities. He needs senzu beans or extended time in a healing tank, or the Dragon Balls, Supreme Kai interrupted. We can use Earth's Dragon Balls once they reactivate. They can restore him completely. That's months away, Old Kai pointed out grimly, and that's assuming he survives long enough for them to regenerate. Goku's eyes fluttered open, those familiar black pupils struggling to focus. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Did I get him? Is Buu? He's gone, Vegeta confirmed, gently lowering Goku to a more comfortable position. Completely erased. You did it, Kakarot. You saved the universe. Again, a weak smile crossed Goku's pale face. Good, that's good. Didn't want to leave anything behind, didn't want him coming back. Don't talk, Dende urged, his healing energy flowing into Goku's depleted form. Save your strength, you've pushed your body beyond what should be possible, even for a Saiyan. But Goku shook his head slightly, determination flickering in his fading eyes. Need to tell you, all of you, about the transformation. About what it means. Kakarot, you stubborn fool, Vegeta began. Please. Goku's hand reached up, grabbing Vegeta's armor with surprising strength. Important, need to. Understand? Vegeta exchanged glances with the others, then nodded reluctantly. Fine, but make it quick. You're dying and I refuse to let you waste what time you have left on a speech. Goku's smile widened slightly. Always. Practical Vegeta, that's why. You're my best rival. He took a shuddering breath before continuing. Legendary Super Saiyan 2 isn't just power, it's a choice. Every second I maintain that form, reality itself tries to reject me. The universe knows. It knows that much power shouldn't exist in mortal hands, knows it's dangerous. His eyes found each person in turn, Vegeta, Supreme Kai, Old Kai, Dende, even Mr. Satan who stood awkwardly at the edge of the group. That final Kamehameha, I put everything into it, not just Kai, not just life force, but intention, will, the absolute determination to protect everyone. That's what legendary power at that level really is, your entire being condensed into pure purpose. Which is why it nearly killed you, Old Kai said quietly. You gave too much. Pushed beyond even legendary limits. Had to, Goku replied simply. Buu was different, ancient, pure. He wouldn't stop, wouldn't change, had to be erased completely or he'd regenerate eventually, so I gave. Everything? Vegeta's jaw tightened. You should have told us, should have revealed this power earlier, let us train with you, learn to what? Goku interrupted gently. You can't train for this, Vegeta. Legendary Super Saiyan 2 isn't something you learn. It's something you are. You have to be born with the legendary potential, then spend your entire life learning to control it instead of letting it control you. His eyes met Vegeta's with unusual intensity. You're strong, Vegeta, stronger than you give yourself credit for. Your Super Saiyan 2 form, it's powerful in ways mine never could be because you earned every ounce of that strength through sheer determination. You're not weaker than me. You're just different, and different isn't less. For a long moment, Vegeta was silent, processing words he'd never expected to hear from his rival's lips. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with suppressed emotion. You're an idiot, Kakarot, a sentimental, soft-hearted fool who nearly killed himself to save a universe that will probably never fully appreciate what you did. He paused, then added quietly. But you're also the strongest warrior I've ever known. Not because of your legendary power, but because of the strength it takes to control it, to choose protection over destruction every single time. Goku's smile was genuinely warm now, despite his critical condition. Thanks, Vegeta, that means a lot from you especially. Don't let it go to your head, Vegeta grumbled, but there was no real heat in it. Dende's hands continued to glow with healing energy, but his expression remained troubled. Goku, I'm doing everything I can, but your ki reserves are still dangerously low. Without Senzu Beans or the Dragon Balls, I don't know if I'll make it, Goku interrupted with quiet confidence. I've been through worse. Just need time to recover, maybe a long nap, some of Chi-Chi's cooking when I wake up. You're talking about months of recovery, Supreme Kai pointed out. Possibly longer, given the extent of your energy depletion. Then I'll sleep for months, Goku replied with that characteristic optimism that had carried him through countless battles. Better than being dead for real. At least this time I get to eat actual food instead of training in other world. Despite the gravity of the situation, several people chuckled at that. What about the transformation? Old Kai asked seriously. Now that you've revealed legendary Super Saiyan 2 to the universe, every powerful being in existence knows about you. Gods, demons, entities we don't even have names for, they all witnessed that Kamehameha. Goku's expression grew somber. I know, that's the price I accepted when I chose to use that power. Earth is going to become a target. Strong fighters will come looking for challenges. Evil beings will see us as threats to eliminate. So what do we do? Dende asked. We prepare, Goku said simply. Gohan has his mystic power, Goten and Trunks can fuse. Vegeta keeps getting stronger every day, and he paused, gathering strength for what came next. I'm going to seal it. Legendary Super Saiyan 2. After I recover, I'm going to lock that transformation away where I can't access it easily. Use it as a true last resort, something I only draw on when the universe itself is at stake. Can you do that? Supreme Kai asked doubtfully. Seal away power that's part of your fundamental nature. King Kai taught me techniques, Goku replied. Mental barriers that go beyond normal training. It won't be easy, and in moments of extreme emotion I might break through them accidentally. But yes, I can seal it. Have to, really. Can't walk around with that much power always available, it's too dangerous. Vegeta studied him with calculating eyes. And if you need it again, if another threat like Buu emerges, Then I'll unseal it, Goku said with quiet determination. Face whatever cosmic consequences come from using that power, but until then I want to be just. Me, regular Goku, the guy who loves fighting and eating and spending time with his family. Regular, Vegeta scoffed. As if anything about you has ever been regular. Before Goku could respond, his eyes suddenly rolled back and his body went limp. Dende's healing energy flared bright green as he fought to stabilize the warrior's plummeting vital signs. He's unconscious, the young guardian announced. His body is shutting down non-essential functions to conserve what little energy remains. We need to get him somewhere safe where he can recover properly. Kami's lookout, Vegeta decided immediately. It's isolated, easily defended, and has everything he needs for long-term recovery. Supreme Kai nodded in agreement. I'll transport everyone. The sacred world of the Kais is too damaged to serve as a recovery area anyway. As they prepared for departure, old Kai pulled Vegeta aside. You understand what this means, don't you? The ancient deity asked quietly. Now that the universe knows about legendary Super Saiyan 2, beings will come, some seeking to challenge Goku. Others hoping to eliminate him before he becomes too powerful to stop. Your world is about to become very dangerous. Vegeta's expression was grim but determined. Then we'll face them, train harder, get stronger. Protect what we've built. Can you, old Kai pressed, can you protect Earth from forces that might rival legendary Super Saiyan 2? We'll have to, Vegeta replied flatly, because Kakarot can't. Not while that power is sealed away, which means the rest of us need to become strong enough to handle threats without forcing him to unleash the legend again. He looked down at Goku's unconscious form, an unreadable expression crossing his face. That fool gave everything to protect us. The least we can do is make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. Location: Kami's lookout, Earth time. 2 weeks later, Goku floated in the recovery chamber Dende had prepared, suspended in healing waters infused with divine energy. His color had returned somewhat and his breathing had stabilized, but he remained unconscious, his body slowly regenerating the massive energy reserves he'd depleted. Chi-Chi sat beside the chamber every day, her initial fear replaced by patient determination. Gohan visited between training sessions, often bringing Goten who chattered away at his unconscious father. Even Vegeta stopped by occasionally, though he claimed it was just to check on his rival's condition for tactical purposes. The world had changed in those 2 weeks. News of the battle with Kid Buu had spread, not through conventional media, but through the cosmic grapevine that connected powerful beings across the universe. Earth's power level had been reassessed by every galactic empire, demon realm, and divine hierarchy. The tiny blue planet was no longer seen as a primitive backwater but as the home of the legendary Super Saiyan. Some beings were terrified, others intrigued. A few were actively planning challenges or invasions. But all of them now knew Earth was protected by power that could erase existence itself. And somewhere in his healing sleep, Goku dreamed. He dreamed of golden green light, of power that shook universes, of the moment he'd chosen to become the destroyer to defeat destruction, of the price he'd paid and the burden he'd carry for the rest of his life. But he also dreamed of simpler things: family dinners, training sessions with friends. The pure joy of testing his limits against worthy opponents without the weight of cosmic consequences. When he finally woke, and he would wake because Goku always found a way to survive, he would face a universe that knew his secret. He would deal with the challenges that came from revealing his ultimate power. He would train his sons to protect Earth when he couldn't. But for now, he rested, the legendary warrior who had saved the universe once again. The husband and father who'd given everything to protect his loved ones. The simple martial artist from Mount Paozu who'd been born with power beyond mortal comprehension and chose every day to use it for good. The legend would continue, but first it needed to heal. Location: Kami's lookout, Earth time. 3 months after the battle with Kid Buu, Goku opened his eyes to the familiar sight of white clouds drifting past Kami's lookout. For a moment, he simply lay there, feeling the sun on his face and the gentle breeze that carried the scent of Earth, home in a way no other place in the universe could ever be. His body felt strange, simultaneously heavy and light, like he was relearning how to exist in physical form after months of floating in recovery. About time you woke up, sleepyhead. Chi-Chi's voice carried a mixture of relief, joy, and exasperation that only a wife who'd spent 3 months watching her husband recover from near death could produce. She sat beside his bed, her hand immediately finding his, squeezing with a strength that belied her non-combatant status. Hey Chi-Chi, Goku said softly, his voice rusty from disuse. Sorry for worrying you. Again, you better be sorry, she replied, but tears were already streaming down her face. 3 months, Goku, 3 months of not knowing if you'd wake up if that terrible power had burned away too much of you to recover. He sat up slowly, his muscles protesting the movement despite Dende's healing work. I know I pushed too hard, used too much, but Boo, I know why you did it, Chi-Chi interrupted, wiping her eyes. Gohan explained everything, about the transformation, about what it cost you, about why you had to use that power. I understand, She trailed off, unable to articulate the complex emotions of loving someone who carried the weight of the universe on their shoulders. Goku pulled her into a gentle embrace. I'm going to seal it away. The legendary Super Saiyan 2 form, lock it behind mental barriers so strong it'll take a threat even worse than Buu to break through them. Chi-Chi pulled back to look at him, searching his eyes. Can you do that? Really lock away that much power? King Kai taught me how, Goku confirmed. It won't be permanent, nothing that's part of my nature can be truly sealed forever, but it'll make the transformation something I have to consciously choose to break through to, not something that can emerge in moments of stress. Good, Chi-Chi said firmly. I want my husband back, not the legendary warrior, not the savior of the universe, just Goku, the man who loves fighting and eating and terrible jokes. I can do that, Goku smiled, the expression reaching his eyes in a way it hadn't for years. I want to do that. A knock at the door interrupted their reunion. Gohan poked his head in, his scholarly glasses unable to hide the tears forming in his eyes. Dad, you're awake. Within seconds, Goku was engulfed by his family. Gohan and Goten both tried to hug him simultaneously, nearly knocking him back onto the bed. Even Videl was there, smiling warmly at the scene despite having only recently learned about the true scope of her father-in-law's power. Easy boys, Chi-Chi chided, but she was smiling too. Your father just woke up from a 3-month coma. Give him a minute to breathe. Sorry, Dad, Gohan said, stepping back but keeping one hand on his father's shoulder as if afraid he might disappear. We've just been so worried. Dende said your energy levels were critically low for weeks. I'm okay now, Goku assured them. Tired, hungry, really hungry, but okay. I'll cook you a feast, Chi-Chi declared immediately. Everything you love, you've lost weight during recovery, and I won't have you wasting away. As his family bustled around preparing for his return home, Goku felt something he hadn't experienced in years, pure, uncomplicated peace. No looming threats, no cosmic responsibilities, just the simple joy of being alive and surrounded by people who loved him. But there was still one conversation he needed to have. Location. Capsule Corporation training facility time. Later that day Vegeta was mid-kata when Goku arrived, his movements precise and controlled as he practiced Super Saiyan 2 techniques. The Saiyan Prince's energy signature was noticeably stronger than before the Buu incident. He'd spent the 3 months of Goku's recovery pushing himself to new limits. You're looking good, Vegeta, Goku called out from the entrance. That transformation is even smoother than last time I saw it. Vegeta powered down immediately, turning to face his rival with an expression that was equal parts relief and irritation. Kakarot. About time you stopped being lazy and returned to consciousness. Yeah, well, I had a lot of sleeping to catch up on, Goku replied with his characteristic grin. 3 months of rest and I still feel like I could sleep for another 3. That's what happens when you use techniques that burn through decades of life force, Vegeta said bluntly. Dende says you're lucky to be alive. Another few minutes of maintaining that transformation and you would have burned yourself out completely. I know, Goku's expression grew serious. That's actually why I'm here. I wanted to talk to you about everything. About the legendary power, about what comes next. Vegeta was quiet for a moment, then gestured to the training room's sitting area. Fine, but if this is going to be one of your sentimental speeches, I'm going to need something to throw at you. Despite the words, there was no real hostility in his tone. The 3 months of Goku's recovery had given Vegeta time to process what he'd witnessed. Time to come to terms with the true scope of legendary power and what it meant for their rivalry. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Goku spoke. I'm sealing it, legendary Super Saiyan 2. After I've fully recovered, I'm going to lock it away behind mental barriers. I know, Vegeta replied. You told Chi-Chi, she told Bulma. Bulma told everyone within a 50-mile radius. Goku chuckled. Yeah, that sounds like her, but I wanted you to hear it from me directly. You've been chasing my power your whole life, Vegeta, pushing yourself to match me, to surpass me, and now that you know about LS Estuo, you're worried I'll obsess over it, Vegeta finished. Spend the rest of my life trying to achieve a transformation I'm genetically incapable of reaching. Well, yeah, Goku admitted. Vegeta was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes distant as he processed complex emotions. 3 months ago I would have, he said finally. 3 months ago, learning about legendary Super Saiyan 2 would have driven me mad with envy. I would have trained myself to death trying to access that power. And now, Goku asked gently. Now I understand something I should have realized years ago, Vegeta replied, meeting his rival's eyes. Our rivalry was never about having identical power. It was about pushing each other to become the best versions of ourselves. He stood, pacing to the window that overlooked West City. You were born with legendary potential, a genetic accident that gave you access to power I'll never possess. But you know what? I was born as the prince of all Saiyans, raised with elite training and royal determination. Those are advantages you never had. Vegeta turned back to face Goku. We're different warriors, Kakarot, different strengths, different paths to power. You have legendary transformations. I have tactical genius and refined technique. You fight with instinct and compassion. I fight with pride and calculated strategy. So you're okay with it? Goku asked, relief evident in his voice. With me having this power you can't match. I didn't say that, Vegeta corrected with a slight smirk. I still intend to surpass you. Still plan to push myself beyond every limit until I'm the strongest warrior in existence. But I'm going to do it my way, not by trying to copy your legendary power, but by perfecting my own approach to strength. He extended his hand. So keep pushing yourself, Kakarot, keep getting stronger, because I need a rival worthy of the name, someone who forces me to evolve, to adapt, to never be satisfied with my current level. Goku took the offered hand, gripping it firmly. Deal, and Vegeta, thanks for everything. For accepting what I am, for helping protect Earth while I recovered, for being the rival I needed all these years. Don't get sentimental, Vegeta grumbled, pulling his hand back. We're still enemies. The next time we spar, I'm going to beat you into the ground. I'm looking forward to it, Goku grinned. As Goku turned to leave, Vegeta called out one last time, Kakarot, when you seal that power. Don't lock it away so completely that you can't access it if the universe needs you. You saved us all by using legendary Super Saiyan 2. If another threat like that emerges, promise me you won't hesitate to unleash it again. Goku's expression grew serious. I promise if the universe needs the legend, I'll become it, no matter the cost. Location, Mount Paozu, 6 months after recovery life had returned to something resembling normal. Goku trained every day, but without the desperate urgency that had defined his earlier years. He sparred with Gohan, taught Goten basic techniques, and even occasionally took jobs for Chi-Chi to supplement the family income. The universe had learned about legendary Super Saiyan 2, but so far, no major threats had emerged to challenge Earth. The sealing had been completed a month after his full recovery. With King Kai's guidance, Goku had constructed mental barriers around the LS Estwo transformation so complex, and reinforced that accessing it would require conscious, deliberate effort. The power was still there, it would always be part of him, but now it was contained, controlled, only to be used when absolutely necessary. Today, Goku stood in the familiar clearing where Grandpa Gohan had first taught him martial arts. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold that reminded him of his Super Saiyan transformations. He closed his eyes and began to power up, not to legendary levels, but to the controlled Super Saiyan state he'd maintained for years. Golden energy spiraled around him, familiar and comfortable like putting on a favorite shirt. But as he reached the peak of the transformation, something flickered. Just for a moment, so brief that anyone not looking directly at him would have missed it, his golden aura took on the faintest hint of green. A whisper of legendary power bleeding through the mental barriers, reminding him of what he was capable of. Goku smiled. The legend was sealed but not gone. It waited patiently, a trump card for when the universe faced extinction. A final option for the warrior who'd been born with power beyond mortal comprehension. Dad, Goten's voice called from the house, breaking his concentration. Mom says dinner's ready. And she made your favorite. Coming, Goku called back, powering down to his base form. As he walked back to the house, to his family, to normalcy, to the simple life he'd always wanted, Goku allowed himself to feel something he'd rarely experienced in his years as Earth's protector. Complete peace, the legend would always be part of him. The power would always wait in the depths of his soul, ready to emerge when needed. But for now, for this moment, he could be just Goku. Husband, father, friend, martial artist. And somewhere in the cosmos, beings who'd witnessed the legendary Kamehameha watched Earth with careful attention. Some plotted challenges. Others made plans to avoid the planet entirely. A few began preparing forces to test the legendary warrior's strength, but that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, Goku had dinner with his family. And for the warrior who'd saved the universe more times than anyone could count, that was enough. 10 years later, the training ground behind Capsule Corporation echoed with the sounds of combat. Gohan, now a fully mature warrior and scholar, traded blows with his younger brother Goten, both of them pushing their limits in ways that would have seemed impossible a decade ago. Trunks sparred with Vegeta nearby, the young warrior's determination matched only by his father's exacting standards. And watching from the sidelines, Goku smiled. His hair had started to show faint traces of gray at the temples, a reminder that even legendary warriors aged. But his eyes remained sharp, his power carefully maintained at levels that could protect Earth from most threats without requiring legendary transformations. The universe had indeed sent challenges over the years. Rogue aliens seeking glory, demons testing boundaries, even a few gods curious about the legendary warrior. But Goku and his friends had handled each threat, working together, growing stronger as a team rather than relying on any single warrior's power. "You look content, Kakarot," Vegeta approached, his own training session complete. The Saiyan prince had achieved his own breakthroughs over the decade, developing techniques that rivaled even Goku's controlled legendary power through sheer determination and tactical genius. "I am," Goku replied honestly. "I spent so many years worrying about my power, about what I might become if I lost control. But now," he gestured at the younger generation training before them, "now I see that I don't have to carry everything alone. Gohan has his mystic power. Goten and Trunks are getting stronger every day. Piccolo, Krillin, even you, Vegeta, everyone's grown so much. Don't think that means you can slack off," Vegeta warned. "The universe knows what you're capable of. Eventually, something will come that requires the legend to awaken again." "I know," Goku's expression grew thoughtful, "and when that day comes, I'll be ready. But until then, I'm happy just being me." As the sun set over West City, painting the sky in familiar golden-green hues, Goku felt the legendary power stir deep within his soul. Not breaking free, just acknowledging its presence, reminding him of what he was, what he could become if necessary. The legendary Super Saiyan, born once in a millennium, carrier of power that could reshape universes. Destroyer of worlds or their greatest protector, depending on the heart that wielded the strength. But also, and perhaps more importantly, Goku. Son, husband, father, friend, the legend would endure, but the man would always come first. And somewhere in the training ground, a flicker of golden-green light danced in the evening air, barely visible, easily missed, but always present. The legend was at peace, but it was never truly gone.